Okay, this video is about computations with scientific notation. So basically we're going to go over how to multiply, divide, add, and subtract using scientific notation. So we're going to start with multiplication. When you have a multiplication problem like this, so you have one thing that's in scientific notation times something else that's written in scientific notation. What you want to do is take the constant terms. So you're going to take this front term and you're going to multiply it by this front term. So 2 times 4, 8. Then you're going to multiply these. And hopefully you remember from our multiplying, when you have the same base, you just add the exponents. So you're going to have 8 times 10, and then you're going to look at this 4 plus 3 is 7. So your answer is 8 times 10 to the 7th. This answer is already in scientific notation. And sometimes when you do that, you're going to get lucky. And your answer is already going to be in scientific notation. Now here's another problem. Still multiplying. Our first number is going to be 6.2 times 10 to the negative 4. And I'm going to multiply that by 3.8 times 10 to the 6th. So I'm going to look at my front numbers. So this 6.2 and 3.8, and I'm going to multiply those together. And you can do this in a calculator. You'll get 23.56. And then that answer is going to be times 10, and we're going to add our exponent. So this time we've got a negative 4 and a positive 6, which will give us a positive 2. So this answer, 23.56 times 10 squared, that is the correct answer to this multiplication problem. However, this time it's not in scientific notation. So you need to manipulate it to make it in scientific notation. You're going to move the decimal one space to the left so that our front number is between 1 and 10. You always need your front number between 1 and 10. Since we had to move this one space to the left to make this 23 into a 2, we made this one space smaller. You make your exponent one space bigger. So it's going to be 2.356 times 10 to the 3rd. When you are dividing with scientific notation, so we're going to do division. Scientific notation with division is really the same as multiplication, but now we're using our division rules. So say we have something like 5.7 times 10 to the 8th, and we are dividing that, so it's this divided by 2.1 times 10 to the 5th. So this scientific notation divided by this number in scientific notation. You're going to do the same concept where we're going to take our front numbers, 5.7, and we're going to divide that by 2.1. And when you do that, you should get, it's a long decimal, but we're going to round it to 2.7. And we're also going to divide these. But our division rule for when we have exponents with the same base says you subtract the exponents. So 8 minus 5, so we're going to have times 10 to the 3rd. Again, this is our final answer, And conveniently, it's already in scientific notation. If it wasn't in scientific notation, we would have to change a couple things. So say we have, do one more of those. Say we have 2.6 times 10 to the third. And this time we're going to divide that by 1.5 times 10 squared. You're going to take 2.6, and we're going to divide that by 1.5. And we're going to get about, oh, this one's already in scientific notation too. So this time we're going to get about 1.7. And this to the third divided by that squared. So it'd be times 10 to the first. All right, adding and subtracting. A little bit harder because to add and subtract, so add and subtract, you have to have your power of 10 has to be to the same exponent. So when you have something like 3 times 10 to the fourth, and I want to add that to, let's say, 4.2 times 10 to the third. I cannot add these until the powers are the same. So this 10 to the fourth and this 10 to the third, they either both need to be to the fourth or they both need to be to the third. So if I try to make this to the third power, so I want it to be this, that means I'm getting this part one smaller, which means my decimal, which is after the 3, needs to be moved so that it's one bigger. So this is going to be 30 times 10 to the third plus 4.2 times 10 to the third. Then, once you have these where they match, you just add your front number. So this would be 34.2 times 10 to the third. So you add your front number and you keep your power of 10. So this is going to be 34.2 times 10 to the third. Again, that's the right answer. It's just not in scientific notation. To move it to be in scientific notation, you would have to make that one smaller, which means you have to make your power one bigger. So that's your final answer. I'll give you one more of those. This time we'll do a subtraction one. So let's say we have 7.4 times 10 squared, and I'm going to subtract 3.2 times 10 cubed. So I need these to both be squared, or I need them to both be cubed. So if I want to make this one bigger to make it match this cubed term, then I've got to make this one space smaller. To make this one bigger, this has to be one space smaller. So that means this is going to be 0.74 times 10 to the third. And I'm going to subtract 3.2 times 10 to the third. Now this time I've got 0.74 minus 3.2. You're allowed to use a calculator. We are going to get a negative number. So 0.74 minus 3.2. negative 2.6, negative 2.46, and it's times 10 to the third. This is in scientific notation, so we're done.